Alright, guys, let's talk about Smallville Season 5. I really enjoyed this season. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I mentioned before that Season 4 was really the beginning of a new era for the show. Where that first 4 seasons was high school, dating, relationship drama. And by the end of the season 4, we kind of graduated, we kind of moved out of that. So now we're into season 5, and it's got more adult plot lines, intrigue, and it gets us further down that pipeline of who Superman would be to come. There's an episode with Aquaman in this season, or at least this universe version of kind of what Aquaman would be. Cyborg, kind of introducing that character, things like that. Kind of giving us an idea of what the Justice League could look like at a point within the show. We move past Smallville. We're not in the farmland, all that stuff. We actually barely see a lot of that in this season, and we deal with Clark. Kind of still on some of that relationship drama, but it's definitely toned down. And Jonathan is now running for Senate to be senator, and that we got that whole election plot line with political intrigue. Kind of not like, I don't want to say super adult, but there's definitely like more of a clear adult storytelling focus, because I feel like this is one of those shows where it did grow up with its audience. You watched this show for 5 years. Maybe you were in middle school, maybe high school. You grew up, now you're in college, and now here's the characters kind of growing through, getting a job, different situations. Characters from the earlier seasons moved in and moved out, and new ones came in. It's just a lot of changing of the formula, and it makes for a really fresh season dynamic. And by the end of it, you're really also starting to feel Clark and Lex's friendship starting to become the Lex Luthor we would know. Like, it's never going to be the same. It makes you long for those earlier seasons. So this season does a really good job of making you excited for what's to come, but also long for the earlier days of the show when the show was simpler. And it makes for a really interesting season of television in history of the show. So I think my favorite episode of the season was probably just the one where there was an assassination attempt on Jonathan. I thought that was a really good episode. I really didn't. My least favorite episodes were probably the Cyborg and Aquaman stuff, just because I feel like, even though it's cool, that stuff, I just don't feel like this was the right point in the show to introduce that stuff, and it didn't really work for me. But if you're a big fan of this show, it's still a great season of the show. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe.